The true purpose of the Enneagram is to reveal to you your shadow side and offer spiritual counsel on how to open it up to the transformative light of grace. Salvador Dali said, "Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it." Anna Quindlen said, "The thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up one being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself." Did you know that I grew up hearing almost on a daily basis that I'm perfect? Just ask my brother. He would regularly complain while throwing a fit, "Kyle is just so perfect. She never does anything wrong. You love her so much because she's so perfect." Naturally, I started to believe him. It's difficult not to let something you hear over and over again go to your head. But I didn't accept this title of perfection like you might expect. I wasn't arrogant or overconfident. Instead, I was insecure and constantly trying to reach a completely unattainable goal. I put an unhealthy amount of pressure on myself physically, mentally, emotionally, academically, behaviorally, spiritually, etc., etc. I tried so hard to live up to my own unrealistic expectations. But I can't. No one can. I'm not perfect and I never will be, at least not according to the world's standards and definitely not according to my own. My confession today, I am a recovering perfectionist. I do not claim to have kicked the habit, but I do admit that I have a problem. I also think that overcoming and giving up perfection is going to be a lifelong uphill battle. In an article by Dr. Christine Carter, she says that perfectionism is often debilitating and can be a particular form of unhappiness. It has been linked to and is clearly associated with serious depression, chronic anxiety, and numerous health problems. Brene Brown says that perfectionism is like a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact it's the thing that's really preventing us from taking flight. For those of us who humbly brag that we're a bit of a perfectionist, this all sounds painfully accurate. Today as a church, we are embarking on a journey with the Enneagram. Some of you have heard of this personality assessment and some of you have not. That's okay. We are going to wade into its depths together. I chose to do this sermon series for completely selfish reasons. The Enneagram is a great tool to get to know people and to get to know them quickly. Once you have a handle on the 9 personality types, it makes learning about a new friend or church member easier. If Gail Knapp tells me she's a 2, then I immediately know that she loves to care for others. Or if Lucy Riffle tells me she's an 8, I know she will always take the lead and will always speak up. If Reese tells me she's a 9, I know she will be a good listener who is optimistic and trusting. Now, just to be clear, as I mentioned in my newsletter this week, there are 2 rules for the journey we are about to take together. The first rule, only you can identify your number. No one can tell you your type. They may suspect or even share their ideas, but ultimately only you can know for sure. And second, the Enneagram should be used to build others up and help them advance in their journey toward wholeness and God. You will find that each number has a shadow side, a deadly sin, or a passion that prevents God's love from flowing freely into them, a blockade of sorts. It is never to be used as a tool for scrutiny or to tear others down. The true purpose of the Enneagram is to reveal to you your shadow side and offer spiritual counsel on how to open it up to the transformative light of grace. This morning, we're going to learn about the Enneagram Type 1. Based on the name, I'm sure you've guessed that I'm a 1. I'm glad, so I can get this out of the way. You'll find that I tend to be vulnerable from the pulpit, but that doesn't mean that I like it. So, while brushing up on my 1 knowledge, I couldn't help but think, who is an obvious 1 in the Bible? Honestly, it didn't take me long to come up with a name, and after a quick Google search, my suspicions were confirmed. Paul, formerly known as Saul, is the picture of a perfectionist, idealist, and reformer. Crone and Stabile share, from our book here, 1 walk a thin line. When they're healthy, they inspire us with their concern for fairness and their desire to restore the world to wholeness. But when they tip toward average or unhealthy, they can quickly get in their own way. In our story today, we find Paul living the life of an unhealthy 1. A self-proclaimed lover of the law and a Pharisee, enforcer of the right way, even to the point of murder. He's so caught up in what his world, the world of the Pharisees, has told him he should believe that he cannot see or even imagine another way. Because ones believe they occupy the superior moral, ethical, and spiritual high ground, ones believe their way is the only right way of seeing and doing things, and therefore feel justified in being judgmental and critical of others. Ones need to be perfect. They chase perfection because they have this vague, unsettling feeling that if they make a mistake, someone's going to jump out to blame, criticize, or punish them. This is one of those moments in the Bible where I wish we had more information, but the reason why we know very little about Saul is because we are called to focus on Paul, the new creation God created in him, the transformation made to his life and his soul. Crone and Stabile go on to say, until ones begin a spiritual journey, they'll never know a minute's peace. Before his conversion, Paul was a perfectionist. After his conversion, Paul is still a perfectionist. If anything, he is a reminder to all the ones out there that if God could call and use Paul, God could call and use anyone. Paul was the most imperfect person God could have chosen to share the good news. If God can show grace to Paul, even after he persecuted the early church, surely God can find grace for each one of us. If Paul is enough, we are enough too. Each type has a healing message that they need to hear. Brene Brown sums up the healing message for ones like this. They're imperfect, and they're wired for struggle, but they are worthy of love and belonging. A person does not need to be perfect to be good. A person does not need to be perfect to be good. Maybe some of us need that as a mantra throughout the day. Once Paul's sight is restored, he begins to live his life differently. He starts to use his perfectionist powers for good. When at the worst, ones can be controlling, rigid, and stingy with praise, even when it's deserved. They have difficulty delegating because of concern that the task won't be done correctly unless they do it themselves. But when they're healthy, they are deeply committed to helping others become their absolute best. This is the Paul we read about in the epistles. A leader of the church who visits the followers of the way, who writes thoughtful letters full of encouragement, glad tidings, and a lot of advice. He really can't help it. Since ones live in a world riddled with mistakes, they keep a running list of things that need doing. And some of us are so thoughtful and generous that we make lists for other people too. Isn't that sweet? Remember, we're still not perfect. The main thing that truly identifies a one, the thing that none of the other numbers will ever understand, is the presence of a merciless inner critic that never goes away. It's punishing, it's relentless. If you have a voice in your head that constantly tells you you're not good enough, I'm sorry, you're a 1. That's how I knew I was a 1. For those of you who stop by my office throughout the week, you've probably noticed that I always have on music or an audiobook in the background. I cannot stand silence because all I hear is that voice. So while on sabbatical last fall, one of the spiritual practices I focused on was silence. Just listening to God's voice, listening to the world around me, and trying my hardest to get used to and to get along with my inner critic. Did you know that naming your inner critic can decrease its power over you? I've been trying to come up with a good name for mine, but I haven't landed on the perfect one. I got a giggle. So, talking back to the critic is fun too. When ones are healthy, we have a great sense of humor, maybe not so great. So we better use it for our own benefit. If you don't like what it's saying, tell it a joke or gently remind it that you're doing your best, and that's good enough. Praying helps too. When the voice gets too loud, sometimes I just scribble furiously or find a quiet spot and scream to God. I think finding a physical way to let it out is beneficial. Prayer beads are a great tool for ones. You can hold them and focus on them one bead at a time for the different prayers that you want to offer God. Now remember that shadow side or passion I talked about at the beginning of worship? Ones really struggle with expressing our anger. We like to hold it in and push it down until it bubbles up as smoldering resentment. This could be a whole sermon in itself, so that topic is for another day. But if you find that you can't express your anger in healthy ways, you might be a 1. So today, for those of you who are thinking, I think I'm a 1, I want to encourage you to show yourself the grace God showed Saul/Paul. It's okay to relax and enjoy yourself. It's okay when you make mistakes. Don't take yourself so seriously. It's okay to ask for what you want and need. You are perfect just the way you are. You are perfect just the way you are. You are perfect just the way you are. So I'll leave you with this prayer. Great I am, you with no memory of the past and no eye on the future, hold me in this perfect moment. Thank you for your acceptance of who I am and loving me because of who I am. Empty me now of my judgment and guilt. Teach me forgiveness so that I may forgive myself for not forgiving myself. Journey with me on this path toward accepting myself as I loosen rules and lower standards that prevent me from fully loving. May I come to know deep in my marrow my inherent goodness so that all my earning and efforting may end and I can rest in your boundless grace and mercy. Amen.